Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan battle video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the updated Extreme Z area for the Majin Buu Saga. So this is a pretty straightforward Extreme Z area, I want to say. It's relatively simple. Most players shouldn't really have a huge problem with it if you've been keeping up with the free-to-play units. If you have not, then I highly suggest you go and complete some of the Majin Buu Saga Extreme Z areas. But there's two new stages, 12 and 13, which feature the new physical Hercule and the new INT Babidi with standby Majin Buu or Majin Vegeta skill. There's a couple missions mainly to do with Extreme Z awakening the Hercule and the Babidi, so pretty straightforward stuff. You can find their event now, which is pretty straightforward, Soul Reborn, and of course the other events. But the other units you're probably going to need if you haven't been collecting them are also available, mainly from the Ultimate Showdown event, the Go Forth Videl and Justice, the Most Fearsome Margin event, the World Tournament Reborn event, and plenty of the Majin Buu Saga events that are available. Now, in terms of the Extreme Z area, we're only going to be taking on the second difficulty, but it's important to understand that for stage 12, which is the stage where you obtain Hercule, you need to make sure that you do both the lower difficulty, the hard difficulty stage, and the Z hard difficulty stage. It's very, very important. Now, in terms of a lead, you can use the Babidi and DBZ LR. However, this is relatively difficult to obtain for some newer players, so maybe you want to consider getting the Majin Buu or Buu Good and Hercule unit instead, as it's probably a more accessible unit, and that comes from the Ultimate Showdown event. Now, beyond that, it's pretty straightforward. There's a lot of available Majin Buu Saga characters, so you shouldn't have an issue. Now, you obtain the bronze and silver medals from the first difficulty, and you obtain the golden rainbow from the second difficulty. On the first difficulty, you need to obtain 15 bronze and 40 silver, whilst obtaining 30 gold and 30 rainbow from the second difficulty. It's very important when you are looking at the events to make sure of a couple things. So firstly, you need to make sure that you get all of the medals. Secondly, you need to make sure that you obviously complete the event, which shouldn't be too hard if you've been keeping up with the characters. If you have not, I highly suggest you pick up all of the physical units, that being the Goku Angel, the Oob, the Hercule himself, the Babidi LR and Majin Vegeta, and then you can just load up with any of the other set units. The reason I suggest the physical units is mainly because of the fact that the Buu Babidi stage is a INT type character, and of course you do want to also be relatively strong in the type neutral event versus Hercule. But the event itself is not too bad. Essentially what you have to do is you're going to have to run each of these stages 5 times. Now, there's also the chance of obtaining a question mark, and the question mark will give you bonus medals that basically count for the equivalent of 1 additional run. So it's pretty sweet. Basically a pretty nice way for you to save yourself some time and trouble. So yeah, pretty straightforward. Now, of course, beyond the Hercule stage, you also have the Buu or Babidi, and Vegeta stage. Now, this one is only 1 difficulty, and that difficulty is of 10 stamina. Now, again, you may struggle here. The best thing for you to do is to look at picking up the physical units. I also suggest that you fully EZA the Hercule unit before you take on stage 12. Ideally, it's probably the best thing for you to do. It'll help you out the most. Or 13, sorry. So you need to make sure that you do stage 13, and you need to make sure that you obviously have the requisite characters. Again, the only real suggestion I can give you is to make sure that you pick up physical units and EZA, of course, the units beforehand. Some of them won't need an EZA. You don't have to EZA all of them, but some of them really do. Now, Hercule, obviously great after his EZA, so I highly suggest you EZA him, as it's going to help you out a lot in the future. Otherwise, the stage is not too hard. A lot of the difficulty stems from whether you've kept up with having the free-to-play units or not, and so that's going to make your life a little bit easier. Of course, overall, you will be able to see, whether you can complete the stage, but I think most times it's pretty straightforward. Now, this stage drops a randomized amount of medals, anywhere between 4 to, I think, 8, and you can get bonus medals here as well through the question mark. So again, it's also a stage that is relatively challenging, but again, also has a bit of randomization to it. So generally speaking, you're looking at around 8 to 9 runs of the stage, depending on how lucky you get with the question mark. Beyond that, it's also relatively simple. You can use the same team you did before. You can see I just went straight into the stage. I did not Extreme Z Awaken Hercule. However, I have obviously kept up with the units, so it's just going to depend on where you're at. Now, obviously, the big benefit to all of this is Extreme Z Awakening both of these units, complete the 8th anniversary missions. But if you are someone who's taking on this event outside of the 8th anniversary missions, then of course you are probably going to want to just complete it for the sake of Extreme Z Awakening the units. Both of them are relatively decent after their Extreme Z Awakenings, and we will take a look at that, of course. But yeah, for now, just a pretty straightforward, pretty simple system. And that's basically going to be it. There's not really too much else to tell you guys. It's a very, very straightforward procedure. If you do have any questions, you can obviously leave me some in the comments down below. I'll gladly assist you with anything you need. All you have to do is just give me a shout. But once we kill or defeat Babidi, what we're going to do is we are going to skip ahead. I'm going to do a little time skipper-rooney, whereby I've collected all the medals and just show you the final steps of the process. So yeah, overall, we'll have to see how these units do to really assess how worth it this is. But there are other bonuses if you're doing this during the 8th anniversary campaign, so I highly suggest that you take a look at it. Now, of course, I've skipped ahead, and you can see that I have fully completed all of the attempts. Going to Extreme Z Awaken the Hercule first. You'll see that I have a second copy of Hercule at SA5. This is to train into Hercule so that I can boost his super attack effect. I also have a second copy of Babidi. This unit is also at SA5 and above, so that I can also boost his super attack effect. Overall, it's a pretty straightforward procedure, and obviously the benefits are two relatively decent free-to-play units, but you also don't want to spend Kais on them, so it makes a pretty good call. But yeah, that is basically it. There's not really too much else for me to do. Obviously, if you are still struggling, let me know. I can give you some assistance, but the easiest way is just to pick up more units if you're someone who hasn't been keeping up with them. And yeah, that's basically it. Now all that's left to do is to collect the mission rewards, and we've benefited with some extra Kais and some stones, so all pretty good stuff. Majority of the stones comes from Extreme Z Awakening Babidi. So yeah, all in all, a pretty cool event. But that's going to be it from me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, bye.